my parents had never been pulled over and terrorized like that. I remember once we were on vacation, so we were driving, like through Arkansas, and I remember, and I don't know why I have these memories, but I remember we were driving through this little town, and it was a Klan rally. Yeah, I'm a kid. But that was what happened in another state. That was like Arkansas, so that didn't happen where I was from.
Sure.
Like where we're from, we're kind of okay until we weren't. And so that changed my perception for a few years until I'm in my 20s. Probably just gotten a cell phone. Texting and driving as a concept is relatively new, so I'm texting and driving. And it's late at night. It's not raining, but it's late at night. And I don't know really what I was doing, except I know I wasn't paying attention. Looking down, and I run into the back of a police car.
Wow.
And it was relatively slow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I don't know it's a police car. So this is unmarked.
Oh, okay.
Right. Well, it's I shouldn't say it's unmarked. Maybe a better way to describe it is it's one of the ones that has the lights in it.
Oh, okay.
Right, but it doesn't have the lights on top of it.
So maybe slightly undercover.
Slightly
or
undercover. Like so you won't know it's a police car until you get close. So I get out, and I'm genuinely concerned about the other driver, right? Because it was hard enough where they could have jerked and hit them. So I get out, and I'm like, oh, hey man, are you okay? Oh crap, right? And I look in the car, and I see that it's a police officer. And I just hit this guy's car.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, I'm surely about to go to jail.
I would think so too.
Right? Surely about to go to jail. And I'm like, man, I am so sorry. He's like, man, just calm down. Right? I did not expect that reaction. Just calm down. He gets out of his car. He looks at my car. He looks at his car. And he was like, no harm, no foul. Gets back in his car. He's like, man, just be careful and pay attention next time. Drives away. I am blown away. Because this is the opposite of what happened when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so, like, that kind of started to, like, break the perception.
And now this officer was black.
This is a black officer. And maybe that was the difference.
Right.
Black officer. And I don't want to suggest that all white officers are bad and that all black officers are good. But my experience was clear and pronounced.
Yeah.
Right. Young, pulled over by a white officer, does not go well. Nobody went to jail, but it was not a pleasant experience. He intended to terrorize us, and he did a good job. Right. Black officer, a few years later, right, and my brother was innocent. I was dead wrong. Pulled over, no harm, no foul, gives me a warning, sends me on my way.
Wow.
Night and day experience.
Now, the earlier one with the white officer with your brother, did you guys immediately know that this was profiling in that moment?
No, we didn't. So it's raining. I don't know that he saw my brother from the back. He may have. I mean, he probably maybe saw his afro.
Yeah.
He got black hair. But it was dark, so we wouldn't have said profiling right away. Right? Because we just...
Yeah, because you guys were relatively guarded.
We were young,
younger.
we were pretty guarded, and we didn't really have that language. So racial profiling was a term that didn't come into play until I was in my 20s or 30s.
Wow.
So, we wouldn't have thought, okay, he saw an afro through the window, so he knows it's a black guy. Right? We just weren't there. We knew that when he saw us, it didn't go well, and at that point, we assumed it was racial. But even convincing my parents was kind of a struggle. Right, and then having the whole opposite experience with the black officer.
Right. Paints a certain picture.
Right, it paints a certain picture, right? Accurate or not, it painted a clear picture.
So now, fast forward, they're innocent, they get released, all this. What is your take on the justice system as it stands now?
Yeah. So they get released, man, and I am so happy for them. That justice has actually now finally been served. These innocent guys are released. But I remember being in school and our teacher talking to us about the justice system and how it was structured. And, you're kids. And so we assume that, the good guy always wins, the bad guy always loses. And so everybody who's in jail is guilty. And my teacher, kind of laughs and is like, no. Our justice system is designed so that the good guy usually gets off, but we can't say that the good guy always gets off. Sometimes innocent people are convicted and guilty people get off. But that event, for me, and it taking so long, we knew, or at least had some suspicion years before, and then years later they get off. That really tainted my view of the justice system. It was like, the good guy does not always win. And sometimes innocent people suffer.
Wow.
And I still hold to the idea that America has the best justice system in the world. But I also hold tightly to the idea that it's not a perfect justice system. That at best, there is ignorance. And at worst, there is bias.
So would you say that it's corrupt?
I would say that it's corrupt, yeah.
Ava, the film director for the When They See Us documentary, came out and said in the Oprah special that she believes the justice system was created with political gain in mind, and bias, and all of this was on purpose. It's not mistake. What's your take on her opinion? Do you disagree with that?
No, I would not have thought about it.
I didn't really understand the political gain piece.
I would not have thought about it like that. I didn't see political gain, and maybe that's my naivete. I'll tell you when the justice system first started to crumble. It wasn't just with these guys. It was really when DNA testing became a thing. And then all of a sudden, it's like, every year, one or two guys were set free. But this guy served 27 years and he was innocent. And now I'm like, oh man, this system is corrupt. There's something wrong.
And these people have their lives stolen from them.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, they get out and they have less life to live now because they spent, and not to mention the adjustment period.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very clear that, there was some issues going on on this Oprah special. I mean, Corey in particular, because he was the one who served in the adult prison. He was incarcerated the longest at 13 years. So he gets out, the world is way different.
Yeah.
Even on the Oprah special, the other guys are wearing suits. He's not. He's wearing just like some Jordan shorts and a shirt. Yeah. So it just shows that he's just trying to, you could just see it. You could visually see he's still trying to transition out of that mindset of where he was before.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to see. Antron is another youth on there, and he talks about his mother passed away from cancer. She was stage 4 cancer when he was locked up, and then when he gets out, I think that's when she was in stage 4. And he got the $1 million settlement that they got, his piece. But he said he still had to watch his mother pass away because he couldn't buy her a kidney or a pancreas or whatever she needed at the time. He said he had to watch her pass away. And just seeing that on camera was like, wow.
Yeah, man. I mean, so now in my 40s, I recognize how much transition happens in your teens and your 20s. And so, kind of your peak years, money doesn't restore that. You can't rebuy being 18 again. You can't rebuy missing going on the first date with a high school sweetheart. You can't buy not going to prom. You can't buy not taking the ACT or the SAT with your buddies. You can't buy not going to college at the same time as everybody else. You can't buy not getting, I don't know what the educational system is in prison, but I imagine that it's not what we would consider a normal high school education. So how do you take all that back? I went to college at 28, as opposed to going at 18. And at 28, I was much more serious about my college experience, but studying and memorization was just harder. So how do you restore the lessons that they were supposed to learn at a time when their memory was sharper?
Wow.
Right? I mean, how do you, money can't.
No, not at all.
Money can't redeem those life lessons that you were supposed to learn like that. And so now you've got to learn them in your 30s or 40s. Right? But it's not like that anymore.